a thief known as the biggest car thief in Chicago's history. Amazingly, not a single car went missing from its spot in these thefts, yet this thief managed to create America's largest car robbery gang and earned up to $60 million. The thefts and the methods used were so unique and surprising that car owners didn't notice the thefts for days, and it took the police years to catch the gang and its mastermind. This story is full of shocking twists, mainly because these thefts weren't just for money. The thief aimed to make a big name for himself in the underworld and become very powerful. So who was this mastermind thief? What was the unique method he used for these thefts? And how did he finally get caught after many years? This story is incredibly astonishing and thrilling. The story begins in 1990, when Chicago was troubled by frequent car thefts. This thief was called the godfather of car robberies in America because many gangs started car thefts due to him. One such gang included a Chinese intelligence officer who carried out car robberies in New York, a story I have previously shared with you. At that time, many small gangs and criminal organizations mainly depended on car thefts, leading to 500,000 cars disappearing from Chicago alone in 1990. Thieves either stole entire cars or expensive parts. However, there was one valuable and easy-to-steal part that no one had noticed, and this is where the godfather of these thieves made his mark, transforming the car robbery scene. This mastermind's name was Maurizio Percan. Maurizio, an Italian, had moved to Chicago with his family years ago for a better life. Most Italians moving to America were somehow linked to the mafia or criminal organizations, and Maurizio spent his childhood among criminal gangs. These gangs operated at various levels. The lowest level criminals committed theft, kidnapping, and murder, while those above them disguised themselves as businessmen to hide their crimes. The top bosses controlled the empires and criminal organizations. Maurizio, from a very poor family, tried many times to gather money to start a business but received no help, leading him into the world of crime. He began committing theft and robbery, selling the stolen goods to the higher-ups. Maurizio focused on what was in high demand in the market and what could be easily stolen and sold. Maurizio began spending most of his time with criminal gangs involved in theft, kidnapping, and murder. Through his association with them, he discovered that stealing car parts was quite profitable. After working with these gangs for some time, Maurizio became knowledgeable and experienced in car parts and understood how the business operated. He decided to buy car parts from thieves and sell them in the market. He soon realized which car parts were in high demand and most profitable. Early on, he started selling car parts from the trunk of his old car, effectively turning it into a mobile auto parts shop, selling stolen parts bought cheaply at a good profit. While selling stolen parts brought in decent money, this was the beginning of Maurizio's rise to becoming America's biggest thief and a prominent name in the underworld. By 1994, after 4 years of this work, Maurizio had earned enough to open an auto parts shop named All-in-One. His primary goals were to expand his business and to blend stolen parts with legitimate ones to avoid suspicion. He even started issuing bills under his shop's name to prevent buyers from knowing they were purchasing stolen goods. Maurizio realized that to keep his illegal business running smoothly, he needed to partner with the city's mafia and pay them regularly. After allying with the mafia, his business grew rapidly, expanding to other cities beyond Chicago. Maurizio maintained strong connections with both the mafia and the thieves supplying him with stolen car parts. Because of these connections, thieves provided him with the most expensive parts, from which he made substantial profits. One day, a thief was in the process of stealing a car part when the police arrived. He escaped before the police could catch him, but he couldn't steal the part because it took too long to remove. When the thief told Maurizio about this, it got him thinking. Maurizio then saw an opportunity that no one else had seen, turning him from a trader into a criminal businessman respected by gangs in the underworld. He set his sights on car airbags, realizing that while they save lives, they could make him a fortune. He knew that airbags were valuable and easy to remove, and an expert thief could steal an airbag in just a minute. Mauricio discovered that airbags were small and easy to conceal, making them simple to transport. Once he had this idea, he shifted his focus entirely to stealing airbags, which were in high demand and unnoticed by others. This approach worked so well that he had his thieves remove airbags from 30 cars in a parking lot in just 30 minutes, a task much simpler than stealing a whole car or a large part. The question is, why couldn't anyone trace the thieves or Mauricio despite so many airbags being stolen? The main reason was that airbags didn't have serial numbers back then, making them impossible to trace after being stolen. These airbags fetched a high price, selling for between $1,500 and $2,000 each in the market, and sometimes even more. Before initiating these airbag thefts, Mauricio studied the market and assembled a trusted team of thieves. This team included people he had worked with during thefts 4 years earlier. Once the team was formed, he trained them in stealing airbags. They began stealing airbags and delivering them to Mauricio, who had a high demand for them. His team provided him with enough airbags to meet this increasing demand. Mauricio knew that his business was on the verge of rapid expansion. Most of his customers were mechanics and auto repair shop owners who quickly bought the stolen airbags and installed them in cars needing repairs. Mauricio paid his thieves generously for each theft, understanding that higher pay would ensure their loyalty. Despite the high cost of the theft operations, Mauricio's profits were soaring. He spent $200 to steal an airbag but sold it for $1,500 to $2,000. By collaborating with the mafia and forming his own team of thieves, he earned substantial profits from selling stolen airbags and saw his business grow exponentially. At the same time, the Chicago police were receiving a steady stream of complaints about airbag thefts from cars. These complaints puzzled and troubled the police because they would find the cars intact at the crime scenes, except for the missing airbags. The police couldn't understand why the airbags were disappearing and were vexed by this recurring issue. Tracing the stolen airbags was also challenging because they didn't have serial numbers. Moreover, the ease and speed with which the airbags could be removed made catching the thieves almost impossible. During their investigation, the police discovered the high market value of these airbags, which clarified the motive behind the thefts. They began to suspect that an organized effort was behind the systematic stealing of airbags. There was a highly professional and organized gang behind these thefts. Although the police managed to catch a few thieves during their investigation, none of them ever mentioned Mauricio's name. The caught thieves claimed they acted alone and took full responsibility, which led to them paying fines and being released from jail. Because these were minor thefts, the police did not torture or pressure the thieves, preventing them from revealing the mastermind's identity. With his thieves' loyalty and their refusal to name him, Mauricio had lost much of his fear of the police. The thefts increased throughout Chicago, with the number of cars missing airbags reaching thousands each year. The police, lacking concrete evidence, could not identify the mastermind. Meanwhile, Mauricio's robbery empire grew rapidly. His gang was stealing so many airbags that he ran out of storage space. To solve this, he opened a large garage and shop named All-in-One. This garage, located in a vast area, was partly used for storing stolen parts and partly for car repairs and parts sales. Mauricio began installing stolen airbags in the cars that came to his garage, increasing his profits. He wanted to expand his business nationwide, so he widely advertised his company and promoted himself as the Airbag King. His advertisements in magazines and newspapers resulted in orders from across the country. Mauricio then delivered the airbags to customers through courier services, managing his entire theft operation very effectively. But Mauricio's operation was so well organized, with a big shop and a large garage, that no one suspected him. He was selling airbags openly across America, making millions. He now had so much cash that he was unsure how to manage it, fearing a financial audit that could lead to a raid and his arrest for holding so much cash. To solve this problem, Mauricio decided to hire a competent chartered accountant to manage his accounts and convert his black money into white. He immediately thought of someone and called a number from his office. On the other end was Eileen, a professional accountant and his high school classmate. Maurizio explained that his company sold car parts and he wanted her to join as an accountant. After joining, Eileen noticed discrepancies in the accounts, leading her to suspect something was wrong. Realizing this, Maurizio decided to tell her everything. He explained how they stole airbags and sold them for cash, asking her to adjust the accounts and convert the money. Initially hesitant, Eileen agreed after Maurizio offered her a very good salary. Eileen couldn't refuse Maurizio's offer. The first strategy she suggested was to start making payments by check, making the business appear legitimate and transparent, thus avoiding suspicion. Maurizio hired a check payment company and began paying all his employees and thieves through this company via checks. This approach ensured that the black money was now being funneled through the check company as legitimate payments, reducing the direct connection to Maurizio's company. Maurizio wanted to ensure that the police would never trace anything back to him. After solving the black money issue, he decided to distance himself from the theft operations entirely. He appointed 3 trusted thieves to run his entire robbery empire. These 3 would lead the gang and oversee all thefts, ensuring that if the racket were ever caught, the police would not be able to link anything back to Maurizio. Following this decision, Maurizio went underground, secretly controlling the operations. This led to a highly organized robbery empire. The thieves became so skilled that if there was a demand for an airbag they didn't have, they would steal one from a car the same day and deliver it within 24 hours. The most astonishing aspect was their efficiency and precision in running the operation. The incredible part was that Maurizio's operation was faster than official dealers. He had established a monopoly in the airbag market, and astonishingly, many victims of airbag thefts would unknowingly come to his garage the next day to have new airbags installed. The most remarkable aspect of this story is that Maurizio had created a supply and demand chain so efficient that the thefts and sales of the airbags were executed professionally, allowing him to make millions effortlessly. His company's success earned him the Trader of the Year award, inspiring others to see him as a self-made businessman. This recognition also gained him significant respect in the underworld, making him a renowned name in organized crime. Maurizio now owned several expensive houses and luxury cars, living the life he had always dreamed of. Despite having amassed enough wealth to live comfortably for the rest of his life, he wasn't satisfied. He aimed to make a name for himself among America's top mafias. In the mafia world, significant respect was given to those with connections to large criminal families. Maurizio, coming from a very poor background with no connections to any criminal family, was an outsider. This lack of connections was why, despite being a well-known name in criminal gangs, he wasn't fully recognized in the higher echelons of the mafia. Despite his significant criminal achievements, Maurizio remained unknown in the mafia circles. He understood that to earn respect in the mafia world, he needed to become part of it. During this time, he met a woman named Carol Montana. Carol was not just any woman, she was the daughter of a mafia boss who controlled several mafia gang leaders. Maurizio saw a golden opportunity and decided to use Carol to reach her father, the mafia boss. Maurizio began to impress Carol with his charm and eventually ensnared her in his web of love. Carol introduced Maurizio to her father, who was greatly impressed by Maurizio's self-made success. Without hesitation, he agreed to their marriage. A few days after their meeting, Maurizio and Carol got married. With this, Maurizio's dream of gaining respect, connections, and status in the mafia was fulfilled. Maurizio felt that he had now achieved everything. With his new mafia connections, he believed that no one could harm his airbag robbery empire. However, something happened that exposed the entire operation. This time, the police caught one of the thieves involved in the operation. Maurizio's downfall began when the police arrested one of his workers, not for stealing airbags, but for a shooting incident. This crime was severe enough to guarantee the thief a long prison sentence, potentially ruining his life. Desperate to avoid this fate, the thief offered the police a deal: he would provide information to help them catch Chicago's biggest car thief. The police were immediately interested. They realized that letting a minor thief go free could lead to capturing a major criminal, making it a worthwhile trade. The police agreed to the deal, and the thief began revealing every detail about Maurizio and his extensive airbag robbery empire. The information left the police astounded. With this crucial intel, the police set up a surveillance operation around Maurizio's garage. They noticed people entering the garage with plastic bags and leaving empty-handed. This behavior confirmed their suspicions that the plastic bags contained stolen airbags. The police started preparing to raid Maurizio's garage, but Maurizio was always 2 steps ahead. He had already taken measures to evade capture. Maurizio had CCTV cameras installed all around his garage. He spotted the police van parked outside the garage from one of these cameras and immediately began leading his team. He called one of the 3 thieves and instructed him to halt any delivery of stolen car parts into the garage. Simultaneously, another police team had been tailing Maurizio's car for days. Since Maurizio had caught wind of this and wanted to confirm his suspicions, he devised a plan. Maurizio instructed his driver to make a right turn at every 3rd junction. The reason behind this was simple: if the car following him also made a right turn each time, it meant they were indeed tailing him. Maurizio became convinced that the police were on his tail. The police, too, realized that Maurizio had caught on to their surveillance. This realization made Maurizio extremely cautious, prompting him to order his gang to shift all the stolen airbags to different locations. Maurizio was orchestrating everything so cleverly that the police couldn't find any evidence against him. Despite 6 months of surveillance, they couldn't gather any concrete proof. Feeling the pressure, the police decided to play a trick. They turned an undercover agent into a thief and sent him to sell airbags to Maurizio. As soon as Maurizio purchased the airbags, they planned to apprehend him. Maurizio, being extremely cautious, had also set a rule that he would only deal with individuals from his gang or trusted outsiders. The thief refuses to buy stolen airbags, so he immediately rejects the police officer who has turned into a thief. He states that he neither buys nor sells stolen goods. The police had been attempting various ways to reach Maurizio for a long time, but he was too cautious for them to get to him. Nearly 1.5 years passed in this investigation, and then comes the year 1997. This was the year when something happened that put an end to Maurizio's entire robbery empire forever. In 1997, a Japanese car company's 10 airbags are needed. Maurizio falls into the trap laid by the police this time. He tells the undercover officer acting as a customer that he has the 10 airbags he has been waiting for 1.5 years because one of them had a matching serial number. Although the police had substantial evidence against him, they still wanted to gather more proof to shut down Maurizio's robbery empire once and for all and catch him red-handed. The police obtain a warrant from the court and get permission to check all parcels being sent to Maurizio throughout America. During this checking, the police open these parcels very carefully, inspect them, and then seal them back in a way that nobody suspects they have been checked. In this investigation, the police find out that Maurizio is supplying a significant quantity of airbags throughout America, most of which are stolen. Now the police are extending their investigation to Maurizio's financial transactions, including payments made through check payment companies, which Maurizio used for his payments. A new aspect comes to light in this investigation, of which Maurizio was completely unaware. This aspect was that the check payment company was processing checks at their office. Each person's photo and, along with it, a photo of the check were taken from the camera installed in their office. This clearly meant that everyone to whom Maurizio issued checks for cashing was captured on camera, including Maurizio's employees and the thief from whom Maurizio bought stolen airbags. All these camera recordings and payment transactions enabled the police to discover that Maurizio was paying criminals and thieves. This provided the police with another solid evidence against Maurizio. Maurizio's plan, which was to use the check payment company to launder his black money, backfired on him. In this investigation, 1.5 years had passed, and then the police began to realize that they had gathered enough evidence against Maurizio. Could they now arrest him? The police obtained a warrant for Maurizio's arrest from the court, and with their entire team, raided Maurizio's house. The court had given the police full permission to break down the door if it didn't open. After some knocking, when the door didn't open, the police broke it and entered Maurizio's house. After entering the house, the police searched the entire place, but Maurizio was nowhere to be found. The police began to think that perhaps Maurizio had already got wind of this and fled the country. But then, the police's eyes fell on a table where many gifts were placed. Upon seeing these gifts, it was revealed that these gifts were given at Maurizio's recent wedding, and then the police's eyes fell on a list kept with the gifts. This list had all the names of the people who had attended Maurizio's wedding, and among them, there was a familiar name which was of the check payment company. There was no ordinary guest list instead, it was a list of guests invited to the wedding, including the names of several big mafia bosses and leaders of criminal gangs. Many such gang leaders and thieves were included in this list who were already on the police radar. Additionally, the names of those thieves were also found in the list who had received payments from the check payment company. Maurizio's parents were also included in this list, and the best part for the police was that the phone numbers of all the guests were also written in front of their names on this list. After getting hold of this list, the police made a move. This time, a police officer called Maurizio's mother and told her that burglars had broken into Maurizio's house and that he needed Maurizio's contact number to inform him about it. Upon hearing this, Maurizio's mother became anxious and gave the police officer Maurizio's number, informing him that Maurizio was currently on his honeymoon with his wife. Now, the police had both hands and a contact number through which they could reach Maurizio directly. This time, the same officer called Maurizio and informed him that his house had been burgled. During this conversation, the police traced Maurizio's location. They found out that Maurizio was at a resort located on the Mauve Island. Confirming Maurizio's location, the police contacted the FBI and asked them to arrest Maurizio. As soon as this information came to light, FBI officers immediately set off for the resort where Maurizio was staying. Upon reaching there, they arrested Maurizio from his room. Now, the mastermind behind the airbag robbery empire had fallen into the hands of the police. He had collaborated with his entire gang to steal 40 to 500 airbags. After his arrest, all of Maurizio's wealth and properties were seized, and the court sentenced him to 10 years in prison for his crimes of theft and money laundering. This was the story of the car robbery mastermind from Chicago, who started from poverty and petty thefts but eventually orchestrated the biggest car robbery in history. After this, he became known in the world of the mafia, earning him the title of the Godfather of car robbery. How did you like this story? Let me know in the comments section. Like and subscribe to Inside for more. See you in the next video.